Poland Daily Business Edition tonight from G2 Arena at Jasionka Airport in Rzeszów. One of the speakers and distinguished guests is Mr. Serge Ferre, industrialist, technology expert. Sir, welcome to the show.
Dzień dobry, Poland Daily viewers. I hope you're having a nice time. And thank you, Alexander, for interviewing me.
That's obviously my pleasure. Let us review, having the occasion, the Polish-French business and alliances and political relations. Both countries are parts of the European Union, but it seems that we don't get along very well since a couple of years. Why is that, in your opinion?
I'm not a political expert, so please take what I'm going to say with a grain of salt. And please, if I upset you and I upset you viewers, put this on the side of me being French and therefore being exactly the example of why we're not the right people. My opinion is quite based on history. France and Poland have a long history together. I think Poland may have a long list of disappointments in France's ability to carry out its responsibilities towards Poland in the past. But the past is the past. The only thing I want to pull out from the past is what the Marquis de Lafayette said, a Frenchman. The Marquis de Lafayette, that Frenchman, is the one that pushed back the Englishmen from maintaining their dominion in America and helped Washington create what is today the United States of America. Marquis de Lafayette said, and he said this in 1839, so some time ago, Marquis de Lafayette said, "We the French are Polish." So let's remember this for a while.
What did he mean by this?
He meant that the French should never forget that Poland, the Polish people, are as French as the French people are. They're part of the same family. They have the same culture. They have the same ambitions. They have the same motivations, and therefore they should be heard. They should be listened to. They should be talked to, and we should agree over something. So let's look at a political example of today, and not talk about the past, but talk about the future. In my humble opinion, Alexander, in my humble opinion, Poland Daily viewers, it's quite likely that the United Kingdom will be leaving the European Union. It's quite likely. It may happen October 31st, it may happen a little later, but it's quite likely they will leave. It is quite likely that what Tom Enders said from Airbus, as CEO of Airbus, that he would pull out his factories from the United Kingdom. Where should they go, these factories? Who has the expertise? Where would you think Airbus would want to put those factories? Well, I happen to be standing here in Rzeszów. Rzeszów is known as the Aviation Valley. One of our French major companies, Safran, just opened up a factory here. I think it stands to reason that Airbus could decide to put their factories here in Rzeszów, in Poland. So forget the past little arguments, forget the past disagreements. Let's look at the future. And the future is not in a sort of a European Union which is driven by Berlin, but in a European Union that has a dream, that wants to make it happen, that wants to invest, that wants to generate innovation. And I think this is the message that a politician I like very much, called President Emmanuel Macron, is trying to communicate to the other countries. We have a responsibility to the Europeans to make it happen, and that responsibility cannot be driven by Berlin anymore and will not be driven by France. It must be driven by a college of companies, and it must be driven by a college of nations which believe that their future is together.
So to solve even the smaller things, we need to have an agreement of the goals that are driven the United Europe, because otherwise it would sort of end up in the little tiny quarrel, which are counterproductive.
I think these little quarrels make good media coverage. My personal, humble opinion as an old man is that the governments, our government, your government, they talk to one another. They're not involved in these little quarrels because they know that this is not what our future together is made up of. I think our governments are talking to one another. I do realize that there's political timings, there's elections going on, and the election is one which is dictated by the people in the nation. So you have to address a number of issues that somehow make media coverage. Dear Poland Daily, you have to address this. But in reality, the substance of the agreements of the future, they're being discussed today between the French government and the Polish government. I am 1,000% sure.
Okay, and we take your word for that, Mr. Serge Ferre, who was our guest tonight, distinguished speaker, distinguished technology expert, sir. Thank you very much for participating in this show.
Dziękuję bardzo. Pozdrawiam serdecznie.
Merci beaucoup.